It's that familiar thrill, right?
Yeah.
Stepping into the airport, you get that rush of excitement, maybe for the adventure ahead, a touch of anticipation. But let's be honest, often there's that little hum of anxiety too. It feels like a world of its own, doesn't it? Just this bustling symphony of people and bags. But what if told you that beneath all that perceived chaos, there's actually a highly structured system, a really precise choreography of communication that makes it all, well, not just work, but work efficiently. Today we're taking a deep dive into that very system, our source material. It's a language learning tool called Easy English Pod at the airport. Now, it's a 3-hour practice session, but our mission, it goes far beyond just learning English phrases. We're here to pull out the most important nuggets of knowledge from this session. Not just for someone learning a new language, but really for anyone who wants to navigate an airport with more confidence. To truly understand its intricate flow, and maybe even appreciate the subtle, almost balletic movements of modern travel. Okay, let's unpack this a bit. We often think of airports as these incredibly complex, maybe even daunting places. But this deep dive, it really shows us there's a predictable rhythm, a specific language even, sort of a social engineering, you could say, that can make the whole experience smoother for you, more manageable, dare I say, almost enjoyable.
Well, what's truly fascinating here is how a language learning tool, maybe inadvertently, gives us a masterclass in the social engineering of travel. And what we mean by that is how these subtle cues and predictable interactions guide our behavior, our expectations too. It's almost like an invisible choreography. It really highlights the essential points where information gets exchanged. And these are critical points for both, individual efficiency and collective safety. These are the moments where specific questions, specific answers allow this huge, complex operation to proceed pretty seamlessly, often without us even realizing the script we're following.
That's a powerful way to frame it. A script we're following. So let's embark on this journey. We're calling it the Airport Journey, a 3-act play. Act 1, arrival and check in the first interactions. So imagine yourself stepping into that initial whirlwind, really, of the airport terminal. Emma, she had her tag this in the session. She has an immediate universal goal. Find her check-in counter. This isn't random. This is the very first step in following that airport script we mentioned. Emma asks directly and clearly, "Excuse me, where is the check-in counter for British Airways?" The response, just as clear, it's just down this hall on the left. These simple directional questions, they're crucial. They are your initial tools for kind of gaining control in a potentially overwhelming place. Then we move to the heart of the first act, the check-in process itself. And here's where it gets really interesting, I think. Because this interaction, it isn't just a casual chat. It's a highly structured dialogue, a script you can almost memorize. Emma's simple, "Hello, I'd like to check in for my flight to London," that immediately triggers a universal sequence. This isn't just about asking for a passport. It's the airline's critical step, that choreographed act of identity verification, linking your physical self, confirmed by your passport, to your travel plans.
Exactly. It's a moment of crucial information exchange, really vital. And the next prompt, do you have any luggage to check in? Well, that signals the asset transfer. Your luggage, your suitcase, it becomes part of the airline system right then. And when you're told, please place it on the scale, it's about verifying compliance, weight limits. That's a crucial safety and operational factor, you see. So this whole thing is a structured exchange of information and, importantly, trust. And it's remarkably consistent across airports worldwide. Knowing the sequence, this script, it truly empowers you because you know what to expect. It reduces that uncertainty.
Huh. I hadn't really considered it exactly that way. The trust aspect. It really highlights how crucial that initial moment is.
Yeah.
And the reward for successfully navigating this first exchange, receiving that precious boarding pass. As the staff hands it over, confirming, here's your boarding pass. Your gate is B12. It's not just the piece of paper, is it? It's your verified permission slip, your key to the next stage of the journey. It confirms you've completed the first act of this airport play. So for you listening, even if English isn't a new language for you, understanding this sequence is vital. It really is. Knowing the expected questions, the responses, it empowers you, reduces stress, and lets you move through that first stage with confidence. You're no longer just a passenger being processed. You're an informed participant in a highly efficient system. Okay, now, with check-in smoothly handled, the next stage of our airport ballet, this is often the one that causes the most jitters. Act 2. Navigating security and finding solace, the interlude. This is where the atmosphere shifts, doesn't it? From that personal interaction at check-in to something more procedural, sometimes a bit intimidating. The human element is still there, of course, but it's highly focused on safety and regulation. Emma's journey in the module then takes us right through security. The officer gives clear instructions. Please place your bag on the conveyor belt. Standard stuff. Emma, quite sensibly, asks for clarification. Should I take off my shoes?
Yeah.
The officers reply, yes, please. Also, remove your laptop. That's a repetitive dance. We've all done it. But it's an essential one. And it usually concludes with a reassuring thank you. You may go through after the machines do their work. Hopefully no beeps.
Well, this raises an important question, doesn't it? Why these specific items and actions? It's actually a delicate balance between efficiency and threat assessment. It has to be fast, but thorough. For example, laptops. They're typically removed not just for better X-ray visibility, but also because their dense batteries can sometimes obscure other potential items in the bag. Shoes, too, they can conceal things. So a quick scan for specific profiles becomes crucial. Each instruction, from removing your laptop to putting liquids in a bag, placing items on the conveyor belt, it's all part of a highly optimized security protocol. It's designed for collective safety. It's basically about efficiently verifying that you and your belongings pose no risk to the flight.
I've always seen security as just a necessary evil, I guess. But framing it as a delicate balance of threat assessment and efficiency, that actually helps. It makes the repetitive shoes off, laptop out, makes so much more sense. It's not just arbitrary. There's a reason behind it.
Right.
And then, phew, you're through. That initial hurdle is behind you. Now, for Emma, it's a moment of calm amidst the storm. A small indulgence. And this really highlights the interlude phase of airport travel, I think. She seeks out a coffee shop. Our source material shows Emma making a simple coffee purchase, a very common airport activity. And even this seemingly mundane transaction reveals something powerful. The script for ordering a cappuccino, whether you're in London or Tokyo, it follows a remarkably consistent, almost comforting pattern. Emma's requests the barista's follow-up for size small or large? Small, please. The confirmation of no extras, anything else, no thank you. And the crucial, how much is it? This is like a mini masterclass in just basic transactional communication.
What's fascinating here is precisely that universal nature you mentioned. It's so consistent. Even in a completely foreign airport, this predictable script for ordering a coffee, it provides a sense of comfort. control even, especially in an otherwise unfamiliar, maybe slightly stressful environment. It's a small pocket of predictability, a micro moment where you know the communication rules. And that helps reduce your cognitive load in a very dynamic, often overwhelming space.
Absolutely. A little island of normal. And after that moment of calm, maybe that caffeine hit, it's back to navigation. Finding the gate. Emma asks, "Excuse me, where's gate B12?" Right. And she's given clear guidance. Just follow the signs. It's about a 10-minute walk. This entire phase, Act 2, it highlights the often repetitive, almost ritualistic nature of airport movements and how even simple transactions like buying coffee are part of the larger travel narrative. It's really about managing that interim period, isn't it? Between the big formalities of check-in and boarding. Okay, we've arrived at Act 3. Boarding and taking flight, the final leg. The moment arrives, you've cleared all the hurdles, perhaps grabbed that coffee, maybe browsed some shops, and now your flight is announced. This is where all those previous steps culminate. The source material captures the anticipation with that familiar announcement. Now, boarding flight BA205 to London at gate B12. Gate. Emma, ever the prepared traveler, she confirms. "Excuse me, is this the boarding gate for London?" Just making sure. The gate agent, poised and efficient, responds with the final requests. "Yes, may I see your passport and boarding pass?" A quick scan, maybe a beep, a nod, and then the final relieving permission. "You may board now. Enjoy your flight." It's the culmination of hours of process, really, the final checkpoint.
And if we connect this back to the bigger picture, this is the ultimate validation of the entire process. Everything leads here. All the prior checks and balances, the identity verification at check-in, the security screening, the bag checks, they all lead to this single moment, this moment of controlled access. It ensures only authorized individuals actually board the aircraft. It's the final gateway, the last point of verification before you physically transition from the airport environment to the aircraft itself. It solidifies the trust established way back in Act 1.
And just like that, you're on the plane, stepping across the threshold. But the communication ballet, it doesn't stop there, does it? The source highlights the subtle social cues and continued interactions once you're on board. The flight attendant's welcoming greeting. "Welcome aboard. Please find your seat and fasten your seatbelt." Now, this isn't just courtesy. It's the activation of safety protocols. Really important instructions. Even a simple, polite request from Emma, "Could I have some water?" is met with a gracious, "Of course, here you go." Service begins. But our source goes one step further, which I found interesting. It introduces an unexpected, yet actually quite common social interaction, talking to a fellow passenger. Emma's simple, "Hello, is this seat taken?" This isn't random chatter. It's a universally understood social script for initiating temporary community. A little bubble in the sky, the exchange that follows. "Are you traveling for work or vacation?" "For vacation." "And you?" "For work." It's small talk, sure. But it's a vital little interaction that transforms a solitary journey into a shared experience, even if it's just fleeting.
Yes, what's fascinating here is that precise transition. You move from purely transactional language, like, showing your passport and boarding pass at the gate, to this more social language, these very simple questions, work or vacation. They're often the first steps in forming these temporary communities during travel, however brief. They offer a quick moment of connection in a shared experience, and that can provide a sense of normalcy, maybe reduce the isolation that can sometimes accompany long journeys. It's all part of the broader human choreography of travel.
Yeah, that makes sense. This segment really covers the crucial final steps, doesn't it? Boarding, getting settled, and even the potential for those unexpected human connections, those little moments. It reveals how a shared journey can foster simple yet meaningful interactions, making the journey itself as much a part of the destination as arriving. And knowing these scripts, even for casual conversation, it allows you to relax a bit more and truly experience your travel. So, what does this all mean? Where does our deep dive leave us? Our look into it at the airport has shown us, I think, that even in what seems like a stressful, complex environment, there's a predictable script, a common language of interaction, a powerful form of social engineering, as you put it, that simplifies everything and makes it more manageable for everyone involved. From the moment you ask where the check-in counter is, right through to the final enjoy your flight, there's a rhythm to it all, a flow.
And this raises an important question, perhaps. How much of our global travel experience is defined by these standardized communication protocols? And how do they both facilitate travel, make it possible on such a large scale, and perhaps inadvertently homogenize our experiences, make things feel the same across different cultures and languages? The airport becomes this kind of universal stage, doesn't it, where the same play is performed daily, more or less, regardless of the destination city.
That's a really interesting point. The original language learning module stated, and I'm quoting here, traveling can be stressful, but with the right English phrases, you'll feel confident and ready anywhere in the world. Okay. And we'd argue, based on this deep dive, that simply understanding this structure, these common interactions, the predictable questions, the expected responses, the flow from one stage to the next, that understanding allows anyone, really, regardless of their language proficiency, to feel more confident and prepared. It's about understanding the system, the choreography, not just the individual words. So as you go about your day, maybe consider this. How much of modern travel, and maybe other parts of our lives too, relies on these shared, often unspoken communication rituals, these scripts? What does that reliance say about our increasingly interconnected, yet perhaps increasingly standardized world? And maybe think about this. What other scripts do you follow in your daily life without even realizing they're guiding your interactions, making your world just a little bit more navigable? Something to think about.